And we're live. Yes, we are. Welcome to Product as a Star. I am your host, Will Cunningham. You already know on this show, we talk to folks interested in getting the word out about a product, good, service, message, or a call to action. Today's discussion will feature a conversation with Veronica Banchs. Veronica Banchs, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited.
So why don't we just start with talking a little bit about what brings you on our show today and what, as we discuss that, get into who you are and what you have to offer.
Well, as far as me,
Well, no, you have products, goods, and services. You also have a show to promote, and you also, are energy yourself to promote. So if we could just get into having people, telling our audience a little bit about you and what it is that your service.
Well, I never do interviews because I get super nervous, and I have Tourette's, I have ADHD. So shout out to my people with disabilities, invisible disabilities. So I have a nonprofit that supports individuals on the autism spectrum in providing sensory equipment. So I'm the president of Blue Crayons Inc., and I also host a show called Bagels and Shade. So I used to be on radio, and they asked me what I would do in the mornings, and I said probably eat a bagel and throw shade. So that's where the name came from. And one of the things I did was I always would promote independent artists, which got me in trouble. Because as you know, in broadcasting, you can't just be throwing people's music out there. I was doing bad things. So I've always supported the arts, and a part of what I do for autism, it involves the arts as well. So that's a big part of me. So I just like to share people's passions and stories, but also support the creatives out there, because the creatives don't get as much support as you might believe, because we're a little different.
Yeah.
So that's basically what I do. I get to hang out with people.
Cool people too at that. I've seen some of what you do behind the scenes, and it's really interesting. Some of the artists that you work with. I saw one of the video shoots or something like that was a spectacular display, and the artist was really talented. I forget the name at the moment, but that was very, very interesting to me, and I'm always thirsty to get the creatives and the artist perspective, especially like how they even found themselves on this journey of artistry, especially that initial call. I'm always fascinated about what was that call. Do you yourself do music also, or is it just a love? Can you explain?
I do everything. I'm not an artist, but I like to drop bars randomly when I'm out and about. Like I am that person. I'm like the Weird Al, but females. But no, I do all the visual creative. So when it comes to whether it's doing a commercial for a client or a music video for a client or whatever, whenever I see something that I feel is beautiful and amazing, or I hear something that I believe is beautiful and amazing, like I visually come up with storyboards in my head. And I've always been a creative. I'm a survivor of childhood trauma and abuse and all these things. So a big part of people that survive that type of traumatic background is we escape in our imagination, because the world is very dark and ugly. So that's what helps me escape. So it's always been my therapy. So when it comes to making these videos or whatever, or working with these creatives, it's therapeutic for me. So, and I can't even put it into words how I do it, but I'll see a whole storyboard and I can make it come together like that. And I understand the people that are needed and who has to collaborate. And so to work with me, you have to understand my disability and how I work, because it's like a beautiful mind and it comes together smoothly. So I really am blessed to do what I do.
Wow. Yeah, that right there is creative in its own. That's an artistic expression right there, which you gave somebody. And one of our listeners, two of our listeners, three of our listeners might find themselves giving themselves permission to pursue that now, where they thought, here you saying you're using very empowering terms, is your disability, and now how it's using, and how you're using that to channel what you're doing now, and being forthright and saying, hey, this is what you got to deal with when you're coming to work with me is truly the art of communication. And that's what really gets, good relationships going. And when you can get a good relationship going with the artist, magic can happen. It really can.
And it's wild because we live in a world that's like so critical of people, right? Like if you don't look like everyone else, or you don't behave like everyone else, or you don't fit in, or you're not quite in quote unquote normal, all of a sudden you're pigeonholed, you know, or people don't want to work with you, or they don't even want to give people the opportunity to just be them and
Right.
figure out what works with them and you. So I had to make it a point to be very honest with people and explain, like, don't look at, you know, my hyperness or my silliness or my, you know, foul mouth or whatever. Look at my art and the intent coming with my behavior and my heart and my words. You know, I'm not a malicious person. I'm not any of that. I just want to create epic stuff. And in order for
Right.
me to do it, we have to accept each other for who we are. Period.
Right. Period. That's fantastic. Otherwise, you're gonna have chaos, you know. So,
Yeah. And I've
so
worked with a lot of people with disabilities, and people don't realize that, especially when you're in the creative world. People think that creatives are just, oh, they're just creative. You know, the same thing with geniuses. Oh, they're just genius. And it's like, no, that's a very different mind. And people don't get that, where everyday people are functioning with 10%. The people over here are functioning with probably 15 or other parts. So they're firing off different. And it's very unique. It's very special. And when they allow you in, you know, that's very hard for creatives to do. You know, a lot of people with disabilities and, you know, or that work creatively, you know, in their little way, they don't like to get people around them because not everyone will understand them. So it's very important. And that's why I acknowledge it, so people can feel comfortable to say, yo, V, you know what? Well, I'm like this, or these things trigger me, or I really work well in this type of environment. So it makes my job really easy because people will open up to me.
and when they do open up to you, how does that make you feel? Does it make you feel like you've done your job? Like, okay, I've been
Oh
this.
yeah, like I've worked with, like, there's someone currently right now, and he's possibly one of the most in, like, just brilliant engineers on this planet, and no one can do what he does, period. But because he is very eccentric and he is a different individual, a lot of
Mhm.
people just won't work with him because they don't understand that personality type, because it's so different from the norm. But yet I would adapt how I am and myself and my
Mm.
disability, because working with him was an honor because he was so brilliant. So it's amazing that people will open up, and
Mm.
it's amazing to be able to adapt, but it is very hard. So you have to be very patient, same way people have to be patient with me. But it's very common. And not being ashamed of what your differences are is something that people really need to start acknowledging and set boundaries and speak about, and not hide these things that feel shameful because I'm different, or I have ADHD, or whatever, or I have
Mm.
PTSD. I have to tell people because I don't want you to be offended if I run out of the room or whatever. So it's really great that we're opening the doors of communication and accepting
Mhm.
each other, because when you hide that, it just makes things so much harder, you know?
I do. And, you know, I hope one day they diagnose whatever my whatever mine is, because I know that I'm certainly crazy. So whenever they get around to diagnosing it, I'm gonna own it.
You
But
know, all the greats are considered crazy, but I mean, what's crazy to
but
some is normal and genius to us. So
right, yeah, yeah, yeah. So
I mean,
it's
when you look
just
at all the brilliant people, whether it's Albert Einstein or whoever you're looking at, these
mm,
people, again, were quote unquote different or had a disability or were labeled crazy, but they were just operating on a different wavelength, but they were actually all brilliant.
right. And then at that point, it's like vibrational. You know, a match. Can we sustain each other in the same environment, or with, you know, while producing greatness? Yeah, and I'm zeroing in on chemistry for a reason, because I wanted to ask about bagels and shade and how you came up with that, but you already did. It goes really good. And so that type of chemistry and duality and how things go lockstep is very important to me, and it has a multitude of different ways that it shows up. It shows up in our experience of artist relationship, personal relationship, business relationship, self relationship that we have with ourselves, and then relationships that we might have with our talents, our crafts, and our products, goods, and services that we're trying to offer. One thing that I find, and maybe you can talk about this a little bit actually. Um, I find, as being a creative and also a business person, that a lot of success is just micromanaging your own psychology day to day. If you could speak to that, what do you think about a
So
statement like
like
that?
with me, for example, I had to be really honest with myself and say, you have these issues, that not that they're issues because they're not, they're just little limitations, right? I don't
Hmm.
like using the word disabled or anything like that because I feel like Society is constantly putting us in labels, whether it's your race, your gender, your sexuality, whatever. There's always a label to make you feel less than or not adequate or somehow feel segregate. I had to remove all these labels, right?
Okay.
So I basically identify as a ball of light, period. So I had to say that to myself, drop all the labels, stop trying to fit in and be something that I wasn't, stop trying to look like these people, behave like these people, communicate like this, change me for others. Like, I'm a good person as long as you're not hurting anyone. Like, you should just accept me. So I had to mentally change that framework. And you got to think, we've been indoctrinated so long, right? Whether it's school, religion, whatever, everyone's telling you, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to get this job, everything is, you got to be this type of success, not this. No one's pushing the creative mind. Nobody's pushing the entrepreneur, the independent. Nobody's pushing, just free little hippies playing in the grass. No one's pushing that. So I had to say to myself, to family, I've had this conversation with my own mother. I will never be what you want me to be, because that's not who I was programmed to be. I'm just me. And I have to go on what makes me happy. So it's not about taking a job for money. It's not about, pursuing things to get a label or social standing or a better house or a better car. It's not none of that. It's just being happy. Because if you die tomorrow, none of that shit means anything. So it's really about retraining your mind to say, I love me and I love life, and I love humanity. So that means I have to accept all of y'all and y'all have to accept me and I got to accept me. Boom. Acceptance changes your mindset drastically, because now that you accepted you, it doesn't matter what anybody has to say to you. You could say no and you can walk away from shit because you don't care, because you're happy where you at. Like,
right.
So I don't know if it makes sense to you what I'm saying.
No, it
but
does.
As a creative, I'm sure you get what I'm saying. Like, fuck everybody.
No, I understand what you're saying. And when you say acceptance, I want to know, how quick is forgiveness in getting to that route of acceptance? Because what I've learned, that there's two ways that you can accept things. You can try to understand it, which is not the way that I do it, because I just end up in this rabbit hole and I never get out of it. And then there is accepting what it is and forgiving the whole situation. Listen, I'm not going to associate blame with anybody, but what I am going to do is I'm going to forgive this situation so that I can accept it and move on. Even if it's my fault or if it's not my fault, it's my responsibility at least to deal with it.
I mean, you said that perfect. So like I said, a part of my limitations or the things that I struggled with or struggle with here and there, a lot of that comes from past traumas, right? So we're talking about, sexual, child abuse, like real horrific things that a lot of people don't make it out of. A lot of people turn to drugs and alcohol. They kill themselves. So just the fact that I was able to make it out of that, I had to forgive people that hurt me. I had to forgive people that neglected me. I had to forgive myself for my behavior due to my trauma, because you do a lot of crazy shit when you're dealing with trauma. You act out, you behave bad, you do drugs, you do this, you do that. And you can't just sit there and say all day long that it's this person or this one, because you have part in that too. So not only did I have to forgive the people that hurt me, that abused me, that did all that, I had to forgive myself. But I had to acknowledge my behavior and make a conscious choice to say, I wanted to turn to God. Whether you believe in God or whatever people believe in, me finding a connection to my source, to the creator, the person that the being that gave me life, meaning the energy source, the power, that little spark in that heart that made that baby. That's who I had to, get close with, and then get close with my mother, and then get close with family. So I had to forgive a lot of those things. And it's not easy, because it's real easy to stay mad. It's real easy to be self-destructive. It's real easy to be angry, because that's, being a bad apple is real easy. It's a good time. But it's very hard to love unconditionally. And it's very hard to forgive. Like, you see people that had their children murdered, and the family will forgive the murder. And I never understood that. No way. But then I got close to God. And then I understood what this was. The soul is immortal. Whether anyone wants to say, I might sound crazy, but I had a life after death experience. I understand what this feels like, to not feel pain, to see something greater than this reality we have here. So knowing that, it's easy for me to forgive people now. It's easy for me to love unconditionally now, because I understand this is just the vessel. This is just the car we riding in right now. I'm trying to get somewhere greater, and I can't get there greater. I can't get to the VIP if I can't even love it. You know what I'm saying? They're not letting you in to the party if your ass is acting up. So, and again, this is my personal experience. No one has to feel this way. I'm just saying, you got to think how divine it is to create a life. You know,
really
and
is beautiful.
This society don't respect women as it is. They don't respect fathers. They don't respect humanity, period. So you have to really be the change that you're looking for. And because that change is going to inspire those to come around you that feel similar, that appreciate life, that appreciate all the beauty, and that see that we can love unconditionally and we can forgive, because that forgiveness and that nurture is going to change those people. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of these people that do evil shit, they do it because they themselves were hurt, because they don't feel love. They don't understand love. So when you show people love, that changes the whole ball game, you know? So that was the trick, was I was like, I have to forgive these people? Not today. And then when I realized, like, oh shit, like I'm really forgiving people, like I'm really loving people that I vowed to hate my whole life. Wow. Yeah. And it changed my kid, you know, because my kid showed me that type of love. So how am I not gonna give other people the type of love this kid gave me? This kid saw me through my ups and downs, the worst of the worst, and still loved me. So again, that's how I did it. You got forgiveness. It's very hard.
Forgiveness. You said a couple of things. You said you had to forgive yourself because it's the way you were acting due to traumatic behavior. That is that stood out as something that I kind of wanted to just acknowledge. That's a powerful statement right there, you know, and that I felt that. So shout out to you for saying that, and shout out to your child for being there too and helping you out, you know, seeing that innocence and that non-judgment, because they don't, you know, at that that stage of development, they're not knowing how to judge. So it's just love. And that triggering you to get even closer to compassion and to God's source, your divine energy, is a beautiful thing. And I'm glad that you came on this platform and shared that right there. You know,
you ever see what, for example, when you see homeless people on the street, right? I've heard people say, oh, well, don't give them money because they're going to go do drugs. They're going to go do. I was a homeless teenager. People do not turn to drugs and alcohol, destructive behaviors, self-destructive behaviors, whether it's homelessness, all these things are provoked by mental illness, mental health issues, by pain, by trauma. These are all things chemically that happens in the brain. Nobody chooses like, yeah, I'm going to go be homeless. I just want to go do drugs. You turn to all these things because of pain. So once you acknowledge, right, and it's very hard because all these things, these chemicals and this way of thinking self-destructively will let you just take it because you don't value life. You don't care because you've been hurt so bad. You don't care about dying. You don't care about losing anything. So like when you see people, you have to understand that when people, even when they hurt you, that was the trick, was even when somebody hurts you, why did they really hurt you? Is it because they hate you? No, it's because they're hurting. So once you start acknowledging this is why you get bullied, this is why you get cheated on, this is why you get this, is because that person's hurting. That's not you. So you have to literally tell yourself, I got to forgive this person because they hurt me because they are hurt.
Well, okay, let's stop right there because that's fascinating, because if somebody's hurt and all they know, even a part of conditioning can keep in there, right? Because if this type of behavior gets in at the formative years, you can forget about it, right? It's just baked in to how they think that this is the way to respond to certain things. I was a person that had a bit of an attitude problem myself, and some would say I probably still do. But one thing about me is I never escalated out of one of my tantrums into violence or anything like that. So I've had always some, you know, handle on it, but others can't say that. So, geez, I forgot where I went with that thought. But anyways, because I had a couple of different things I wanted to say.
We getting deep. Like this was too deep. You wasn't ready.
No, yeah, you hit me off. You took me off. You took me off course with that because I got caught in my own observation as I was almost watching what you were saying, and then I had my own thoughts about it. And the part that really caught me was the part of conditioning, how that can come into it, and that is a self-awareness thing. Like for me, I had to address my conditioning that I had picked up along the way, because we are the sum total of our past events, and if we allow it to be that without just by default, you know, it's a hectic situation. And by hectic, I just mean erratic behavior, disempowering thoughts, you know, like seeking like when you're in a miserable state. Though, you know, this is the type of thing, or blame even, right? You know, getting myself out of the picture and saying, why would this person do that? As opposed to saying, what did I do to cause this effect? You see what I'm saying? And having that type of accountability. And then, so yeah, that's where I was at, why I lost my train of thought. I was like, wow, okay, this is
Oh, but
some
we
powerful
all got
stuff.
that little thing in us, because remember, I'm still from the hood, and I grew up in a space where, you know, we fight, and this is very normal. And then when you think of being raised Catholic and all that, no matter what religion, you know, you're always growing up with this whole thing. If you're gay, you're going to hell. If you're this, you're that. If you're and there's all these things, and it's like, yo, I'm just a little kid, bro. Like, calm down. And being so abused, and then yet still being preached to and told how you're supposed to be and molded. You know, children are supposed to be free. And this is something I learned when I had my life after death experiences. You know, you do not own your children. And what I mean by that is, children are a gift from God, right? We're all brothers and sisters at the end of the day, right? No matter how you feel about it. And we're just here to guide each other. That means just have each other's back, even your children. So when you start imposing your beliefs and your rules and telling people what they can or cannot do, you're just breeding this negative. It doesn't work for anybody. Whether it's even with discipline and laying your hands on someone and all these things affect that little soul. So as we get older, that's why we're so damaged and hurt, because the people that should be caring for us, they aren't unconditionally loving and nurturing. No, you're not. When you're telling a child you have to be like this or this, and then you're hitting them and you're literally breaking that little soul. So I had to teach myself that I can't do that to my kid. Like, I can't raise my kid in that type of situation. So I had to turn to researching religion and trying to find myself and heal myself and all this stuff, because I didn't want him to pass that on to his kids, or him think that I was going to pigeonhole him and mold his life and force him. And so I never pushed religion on him. I don't push discipline. I want you to learn and communicate. So whether he's made mistakes or whatever he's done, we communicate. I don't need to hit you. I don't need to treat you like I own you and take everything away. I'm going to explain to you the consequences of the actions. I'm going to tell you all the things that I fucked up on. I need you to understand this could happen to you. I don't want that to happen. So when you have honest communication with human beings, children as well, doesn't matter how little they are, you have to be very honest, and you have to be very nurturing and accept that every human is going to hurt you. Everyone's going to make a mistake. And all you have to do is set the boundary, like, yo, Will, I can't do this because this makes me feel like this. And all you got to do is accept what I said. Same way you do the same with me. Accept it, and we continue. And we be peaceful.
Yeah.
But it's hard. They've been teaching us some messed up shit. That's what's been happening, bro. They've been teaching us some messed up shit from RIP.
That, I mean, we can talk about on a whole nother segment, cartoons. When I have so many stories about how I used to see kids behave, children my age when I was a child, watching cartoons, and then take that straight from the cartoon into the classroom and get a detention. That's a whole nother subject that, you know, I'm not even going to go into.
But everything on TV and music, no matter who you are, you could have something that touches your soul, and you're like, that's such a beautiful song. But the reality is the entertainment industry is geared towards the privatized prison system. They want to teach the kids bad stuff. They want to put some bad messages and make sure you know that it's okay to be a whore in the house. It's okay to be cool with gangs. It's okay. A lot of these cartoons, they show you bullying. They show you very assaultive behavior. A lot of bad shit. I know, we grew up in it. So, and again, if the parents aren't communicating to the kids these things, and we're constantly joking about these things, making it okay and popular, then when our kids end up in jail, who's really at fault? It's the parent, because the parent's not really communicating. This isn't okay. I had to explain pornography, for example, to my son. Just because because, you know, people are going to watch that type of shit. We can't pretend that's not real. But you got to understand that's a fantasy. That's not reality. You behave that way, whether it's unconsensual, whatever. These things are not okay. And you have to have these conversations and explain, this is not reality. This is reality. You have to communicate. You have to be open and honest. So again, a lot of this shit I blame on the parents. I blame on the parents and society pigeonholing us and teaching us negative shit.
So we've talked about society's contribution, parenting in the home. We even talked about religion a little bit. It makes me want to take this time to go ahead and get your location. Why don't you tell our view? I'm on the West Coast here, California, Bay Area. I'm currently in Hollywood. Why don't you tell us where you're from, where you're stationed at, and because you mentioned, like I said, culture. Let's have that debate, or not a debate.
Well,
This is
I'm
this
from
is
Brooklyn, New
harmony.
York, but I'm located right now in Florida. You know, we had to come to Florida and get some sun. We don't like the cold no more. We got bad backs. But
They
yeah,
say
so like
gangsters don't.
culturally, I mean, I'm from the hood. Like it doesn't get more hood than New York, does it? Like
Man.
they beating their kids' asses. They doing all types of shit in New York.
Yes, it's wild. So she's okay. So New York, Florida by way of New York, or however that go. Sometimes I get these sayings confused. So you're enjoying your Florida stay, I take it, or is that you went to Florida for a reason? There's something that pulled you there.
The thing is, I'll always be a New Yorker. There's no changing, who I am. But at my core, I'm really the hippie kid that was hanging out in my grandfather's farm in Puerto Rico. Like that's
Okay.
where I need to be. I need to be on a little farm somewhere, minding my business, doing my show via studio. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, I love Florida. I was able to take my son because you got to think like people can talk all day about New York being the greatest because of this, because of that. The cost of living is ridiculous. The way of living is ridiculous. It's very violent. It's very hostile. It's not. When they say concrete jungle, that's not a compliment. People can try all day
No.
long, but I live there. It's not a compliment. And I
Right.
didn't want that for my son, and me moving out here was to get my son somewhere where he could get a better education, where it wasn't so loud. It wasn't so rowdy. Florida's gangster with the animals, but it's been a blessing because we live in the suburbs. So he
Okay.
can see greenery. He's not hearing, sirens. He's in a safe environment. So yes, love New York, but from a distance. Like they're too loose. Sorry, New
Right.
Yorkers. I said what I said. The crime rate is crazy. Florida's crazy too, but not in the suburbs. We're not doing that.
So you said you really focus. You said you really just a girl on a farm in Puerto Rico. Okay, so I found out a lot about. Okay, I found out you're Puerto Rican. Okay, there's a huge Puerto Rican hub in Florida too, and a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I get that. Florida. Shout out Florida and all the diversity there. But I did want to ask you. As you were on that farm in Puerto Rico, was there any like exciting things that happened that like kind of are playing out in your life right now, like any foreshadowing for when you when you were young and then you're like, wow, you know what, I'm somehow on this same path. I didn't think it was going to be this, you know what I mean, necessarily, but wow, I did have a kind of arrangement with the universe. As the more that I think of it, that would bring me to this
Here's the
moment.
thing: is like Puerto Rico gave me some of the most traumatic experiences of my life and also gave me the most loving experiences.
Right.
So you got to think, I was being brutally assaulted in Puerto Rico versus in New
Oh,
York.
okay.
The people assaulting me in New York, they were different type of groomers. They weren't violent. But here, the main predator in Puerto Rico was extremely violent. I mean, this is like using a machete to my throat. I'm a little kid. So here
Jeez.
you have this type of trauma, which I don't go out there because it was so traumatic. I don't step foot unless it's a funeral out there. But then here I had my grandfather who was like the sweetest dude ever, my uncle who was the sweetest dude ever, who taught me how to garden, who let me eat coconuts off the tree, but here my uncle got sick and he died. So I lost him. He was the best part of Puerto Rico. And then my grandfather, he gets sick and he died. So the only reason I went out there, because that was just our routine, our ritual, they were the happiest things out there. Other than that, it was a nightmare. So here I got to, play in the grass and drive go-karts and, hide in the green and like chase the cows. And, that made me so peaceful just being within nature. Like that was my happy spot. But then foreshadowing across the street is, my predator. So it's like, I always knew that I always wanted to go back to that relationship that I had with my grandfather, with my son, where we're
Okay.
on our own land and we're growing our own food and we're hanging out, and so simple yet so rewarding, because
Right.
nothing currently is rewarding for me. I don't go to sporting events. I don't go to concerts. I don't do anything that's making the elite puppet masters money. I don't support it no more. I cancel them. So I really want to get back to a sovereign way of living. That's happy for me. That's my happy spot, not for everybody. So that little moment with him taught me so much, because he was such a simple man, and that's what he wanted, was to play in his garden and hang out with his grandkids. And now I understand why the dude was so cool, because he was happy being simple. He never wanted or needed for anything. So I'm like, I want to be like my grandpa, because he was a vibe.
That's what's up.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so, and it's so crazy that when you're a little kid, you just see the pain, right? But those little happy moments, you're like, you treasure them, like you never let them go. And here I am, an adult, and he's been gone, decades now. And I'm like, I want to go back to that, like that with my kid. And it's so crazy, because even my kid, just me talking about it, he's like, I can't wait till we have our own land. I can't wait for us to just do our own thing. Like, he's with it, because he understands like the joy in this simplicity. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not a minimalist, but I'm a naturalist. I want to be in the grass. You know what I'm saying? Playing with the chickens and the ducks. Like, catch me chasing the cow.
It's a vibe out there. I'm from San Francisco. I was born in the Fillmore district, Eddie and Buchanan, not too far away from the Tenderloins. But my mother had the presence of mind to sort of put a check with a check with a check, if you will, and move us out of there. And so it was to the suburbs for me. And so similar experience like you, I had the culture shock of, coming from the city to sort of rural areas, mind you, not as much as the trauma. I hate that happened, and I'm glad that you shared that with us. But when I found myself on these ranches and farms and stuff, just with friends and stuff, there's a certain peace that falls over you when you're, when you're out there, and just even you realize that nature even has a sense of humor. I remember the first time, and this is a little bit crazy, but I remember the first time I saw a horse piss. Like, it was the funniest thing I ever seen. I wasn't ready for it or anything, and this horse just started going number one. And I thought it was the most funniest thing that I ever seen, and I wasn't ready for it. And just that type of experiences, I find myself grateful for my mother for, like I said, having the presence of mind to get us away from, the city life, and then sort of into an area where we could at least allow our minds to sort of take a deep breath, like a filter for the mind. That's what nature is, and sometimes being out there can sort of cleanse you, but between the ears, it's very, very refreshing.
It's like an all day, everyday barbecue. If you really think about it, you hanging out outside, you're cooking, you're just talking shit. You're not on electronics. You're literally vibing. Like, let me go pet this donkey. Like, it's just a whole thing. And animals aren't cruel. Animals aren't trying to hurt you. I mean, Florida animals will, but it's just a different relationship. And people don't really appreciate it if you never experienced it. When you experience it, like you appreciate it, because you're like, that was kind of cool. Like, I was just chilling out. And TV sells you on the lifestyle. TV sells you on, you want to be in the big city, on the penthouse, and life is really hell when you think about it. It's this $40 million house, but you got to take an elevator and park a car and do this and do that. I just want to go in the backyard and just eat some shit. Like, I'm not trying to go park the car, do this, do that. Like, it's too much.
Well, that brings us to your schedule. I am curious about what's going on in your schedule. What's got you really excited? What energies that you're intersecting with have you really excited about what's up and coming?
Well, I have a lot of amazing guests coming on. I have Tom McDonald coming on. I have Tiny Wings coming on. I have a little bit of everything coming on. Some HBO stars coming on. And, so we're going to talk about philanthropy and music and art. And, so just that in itself. And then I have some survivors coming on. So where my show, my show's the honeypot. You hear bagels and shake, you just say, oh, it's shenanigans or whatever. And then all of a sudden, here's a survivor of elite human trafficking. Here's a survivor of emotion. So that's where I get them, just because people assume it's comedy and music. my activism work and my philanthropy work is number one, period, you know, right next to God. So there's always something going on, and it's always when you least expect it. You know, I just had Luca Longobardi on, and he is, for example, the composer behind the Van Gogh exhibit.
Oh,
So,
okay.
you know, people are used to all these other interviews, and they're like, what? This like world-renowned composer that's, yeah, like, so now I got somebody hitting your soul. Now I got a survivor of R. Kelly's coming on, and that you're just like, so that gets me jazzed up, is because people that follow me, a lot of these people are survivors or they're within the entertainment industry. And like I said, the entertainment industry likes to lure people into some bad shit. Not all the time, but the majority. So the beauty of my show is people can come on here, and even though they have been exposed to that, they always hear stories from real people that have survived some shit. So no matter what the industry is telling you, you hear real people sharing what the industry did to them or what they survived, or so you don't feel alone and you can open up. And you know, so that's what gets me jazzed, is getting people to say, yo, like, you made me comfortable enough to open up about this. You made me okay with accepting this. You made me see that that's really not the behavior that's conducive to my people. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
I love that. I love that, because too many of us are going to jail. Too many of us are going down this path of losing our souls, and that's the most valuable part of you. So if I could save a soul on my show, I could, you know, inspire a soul on my show, like, I'm happy.
You know, your show, your energy is well, it's like a breath of fresh air. You have you brought up your culture, you know, Puerto Rico, Brooklyn, and Florida. Then you have traumatic experiences, and then you have a new lease on life as well. So you've channeled, you've turned a setback into an upliftment, and that's always needs to be celebrated. And you've given us energy. I wanted to tell people about the fun about your podcast, because on your podcast you have the sound effects and everything going on. I mean, you got music, you are ready to go. You do get lit. It's a Bagels and Shade is it's an experience. It really is. And we're gonna, you know, there's a lot. I know there's a lot more that you got in store with that. But you remind me, hearing you talk, of, you know, I don't mean this in any negative way. There's a group. One of my favorite groups is Public Enemy. Right, East Coast group.
Public Enemy.
Okay, you remind me so much of Public Enemy, but the whole group though, like, because you have the
facts, though. Like,
yeah,
you might not like the messenger, but they hit you with it, and
they hit you with everything.
Great about them is, like, they were humorous, they were real, like, they let
That's
you
what
know,
I'm saying.
like, we fucked up, we've done a lot of fucked up shit, we've done crimes, we've done it all, but we understand that the man manipulated us into that, so we're saying no to the man. Like, I live for that, because the reality is we would not be doing or have any of the criminal shit or horrible shit we have going on if people weren't influencing it. If the justice system was holding people accountable for pedophilia, for these type of crimes, these horrible things, we wouldn't have so many hurt people running in these streets, period. Like, and the attack on the Black and the Hispanic community is very real. So, like, we have to address that, and we have to understand that they're manipulating our music. They're manipulating all these industries to entrap us, to keep us enslaved. And if people don't believe that we're enslaved, you missed the memo. Kanye fucked it up. But the reality is they do. And, like, people don't want to hear those truths coming from a woman. And that's a real fact right there. Me saying the stuff that I say, I get attacked every day online and bullied online every day. Somebody tells me to kill myself. Somebody tells me I'm a piece of shit. I'm this. Meanwhile, I have a medical degree. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm a single mom. I did all my stuff.
Is what they don't know. Is what they don't know.
So call me stupid all day long, and they'll use, you know, where I come from, or my ghetto-ness, or my swearing, and it's like, I'm talking about real shit. So if you can't understand that real shit is going to involve real emotions, and it's going to involve real raw language, then you're not ready for this conversation, because we can't talk about enslavement and be calm as a cucumber.
That is Public Enemy. Okay, so that is Public Enemy, because you have the marching band, you have the DJs, you got, you know, just like you got your activism, which is what you march to. You're out here, you want to talk to survivors, and then you've got a great sense of humor, right? So then that's like the Flavor Flav. That's like the teaspoon of sugar that helps the bitter medicine go down, which is Chuck D. Like, listen, man, we got to fight the powers that be. All this laughing and we keep keying and ha-ha, but sometimes you need that, and sometimes we laugh to keep from crying. And if that's why I said you remind me of Public Enemy, is because you got all those elements. You got the sense of humor, you got your marching music, and you got your message, and it's just all in a complete package. And that's why I'm really, really grateful that you came on this show today.
No, I'm hype. And like, look at Dave Chappelle, for example. Everybody wanted to drag Dave Chappelle because he said this or he said that, and he joked about abuse. And it's like, we have to literally joke about the ugly in this world so we can get rid of the pain and find a way to cope with it. And there's no better way than to cope with it, acknowledge it, and stand up to it, period. And people don't get that because people have been playing the victim so long, right? I'm gonna cancel you because you hurt my feelings. Well, and it's like that shit. All you're doing is you're feeding the tit to everybody. You're not gonna get off the tit if you don't grow up and learn how to handle emotions, you know. And they got everybody so used to being emotionally reactionary to everything. You call me fat, I'm gonna kill myself. You bully, I'm gonna kill myself. And it's like, they're teaching us this type of shit. So we got to learn how to joke about it and be so raw with our communication that it breaks all those barriers. It breaks all that shit, because that's why people are killing themselves. People are too emotionally attached to words. I remove it all. I use every fucked up word you could think of just to break. Yo, call me whatever, and I'll say it to myself, and people will be like, don't say that. I'm like, I have to say that so you don't have a emotional attachment to what I'm saying. So when I say the word bitch, I'm not saying the word bitch to hurt anyone. I'm saying, bitch, please. Like, I'm trying to remove the stigma from it. So like, and people will come for me on this shit, and I'm like, stop obsessing over language. You know what I'm saying? We spoke telepathically before men even learned how to talk. So let's go back to that shit, reading each other's energy. You know, your vibe's good, cool. Because you can do it. Think about it. When you're in a public place, you can read a motherfucker like, oh, this motherfucker look crazy. He giving me bad vibes.
We've all been in a room where everybody's been chilling and laughing, and then a dude comes in on bullshit. And then oh man. And it's like,
we're smarter than people even realize, but they've taken all that away from us by making us little bitches. People don't want to hear that shit though. People like, so like, I appreciate people that talk raw, like you having me on your show and allowing me to be the way that I am. Like, I don't go on shows because of this, because people will say, well, she's this and she said these words, or she did it. And they'll nitpick me instead of just hearing the message. The message I'm saying is actually very beautiful. It's about acceptance. So if you're going to choose to dissect me, you're going to always find something wrong with me. It's like the person looking, are you cheating on me? Well, shit, if you start looking, I'm sure you're going to find something to fucking think that. So it's that type of mindset. Like, you can't go looking for shit. You just got to let people be.
Right. Listen, this has been a great show. I appreciate you for coming on. I gotta come back on you. I gotta come back on Bagels and Shade. I gotta get the official soundboard. I know. I gotta come take the glasses off. You know what I'm saying? Maybe put one in the air. You know what I'm saying? Let my hair down on Bagels and Shade, y'all. You know what I'm saying? Or put some hair on. You know what I'm saying? Either way. But I really do value this conversation. It's one I'm going to look at. It's some things that you've even challenged me on without even realizing it. But that's good. I'm here for that. No, it's good. It's because what I always tell people is we're talking about stuff that we're doing, not who our character is, right? So if it's just things that we're doing, that's good news, because we can always change what we're doing. It's not a character flaw. So just, there's some things that I've said, basically when you said the thing about, they're making us into little bitches, that's the part I want to go evaluate my little ways to see if there's any bitch assness involved in there, so I could, get my edit on. For real, no, that's a fact, because I'm not the one trying to come. No, I'm not. I'm really not trying to walk around here with that type of behavior and represent my family, my company, and my loved ones in a way that's coming off like, foul. At the same time, I am who I am, and I love myself, and everything that I am has got me here, and I trust my instincts. I'm not going to dissuade like that, but there were some things I said, okay, maybe maybe I need to go check myself a little bit, and checking ain't cheating.
Yo, like, I have a friend right now, right? Like, look at, we spilling tea real quick. I have a friend, and my friend
I'm gonna drink some coffee then.
My friend will call me and be like, oh my God, my nephew, he was wearing nail polish. I'm like, okay. And he's so angry, and I'm like, why are you upset over someone else's behavior? How is their behavior hurting you? well, they should, well, again, you want them to be what you want them to be, and that's not okay. And then I have other friends that'll call me and they'll go off on somebody, and I'm like, but why are you actually mad? Like, you're judging that person's behavior that doesn't affect you at all. Well, I don't like it. But again, you have the choice to handle you and how you react. And that's the issue, is like, people will stay so trapped in the way that we think, you know, that we have to view everybody and judge everybody, expect, well, you didn't call me today, well, therefore you don't love me, or this person didn't buy me this or do this or do that. And all you're doing is setting up little blocks that are removing you from allowing yourself to love that person unconditionally. Really think about it. When you start getting, they didn't buy me a Valentine's Day present that I wanted. You realize holidays are superficial and materialistic, right? You're upset over a gift. Then you'll have people upset over a wedding and a this and a that. And it's like, you're literally being upset over anything at this point. Mad over others' behaviors. Like, and that's the shit, is like, we literally have to control the way that we view the world and others, and stop expecting shit. Just stop expecting shit and people to behave a certain way. Just let them do what they got to do, as long as they're not hurting you. You know what I'm saying? So like,
right.
That's a big thing that I had to do myself. Like, why the fuck are you mad that this person did this, or that you don't want to do this or do that? Like, who cares?
Right.
They got caring about shit that's not important, bro. Like,
look, you are a master conversationalist. You know, I almost answered that question. Well, because you said, well, I almost said, well, this is because they did this, then that's why but no, but you know,
because we're so used to like defending ourselves, and it's like, I literally don't have to defend myself to anyone, as nor do you. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm
and
I'll
tell people this in the comments when they attack me. I'm like, you're mad over my opinion and my views on my page and my life, Susan, man. Like, so it's like that. And, you know, I don't attack other people. So like, because I don't attack other people, it doesn't give them the right to attack me, you know? And I feel like once you start attacking someone's character, or you start judging them, you are opening up that door for them to come for you. You know what I'm saying? So that's where it has to just stop. Like, if you stop, and they doing their own shit, that's on them. They started this, you know. I'm minding my business, you know.
So when that's fascinating, because you said attack. When, you know, somebody's attacking somebody, I want to. I know we're gonna have this conversation. So when do you know that you're attacking somebody? Because you said judgment of characters, and the behavior that I was trying to change wasn't a behavior where I'm attacking somebody, like calling out. It's a behavior where I think maybe my tone was too brash, or, you know, like, I'd like to have better self-control of my responses in the moment, but it's never a situation where I'm elevating to anything toxic. It's just the hangover after having that response, reevaluating. It's just not, I'd rather not have that feeling as a result of the way that I responded to any particular conflict.
But clearly somebody made you feel that, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, this was happening to me. People would tell me, oh, you too loud, you too ghetto, you too aggressive, you too this. That's a part of my personality. You know, if you're not using discernment in what I'm saying right now, if I say I'm going to kill you, clearly I'm making a threat. That's very serious. But if I'm expressing myself on a subject or whatever, and I'm not verbally cursing you, I'm not doing anything crazy, you shouldn't be offended at my tonality, because this is a part of my personality. You know what I'm saying? This is how I communicate. So like, you have to stop, you know, basically, like, and this isn't an offensive thing. Stop letting people make you feel like your tone or how you react to stuff. Nah, man, you react however you feel is right for you. You know, if you're passionate about something, fucking let it out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like, it's not like I'm calling people out of their names or breaking walls or threats or nothing like that. No, I'm just trying to get this shit off, man. Like, I need the space to get that off. Look, and this happened.
I was a military wife for 15 years. You got to think, this dude was I was with him since I was 16 years old. This dude was very strict, very serious. We couldn't hold hands in public. Like, there was all these fucking rules. You know what I'm saying? And then I grew up in a Catholic home, and all this and more fucking rules. So here you have people constantly telling you, So when I snapped, I used to, like, I was the one that was gonna fight you in the street. Like, when I snapped, I went so off that it just didn't seem rational. But it's because I was so controlled for so long. People telling me how to behave and how to this and how to speak and how to act. And that's what gets us so frustrated, is you should be allowed to speak and be passionate and whatever, as long as you're not verbally attacking someone. they ain't a problem. Now, if you're getting upset over my tonality, clearly you are the problem because you are upset. This is your esteem, yourself, your problem. This ain't my problem.
This is I've been hit in the head with the tone because this is just I was raised in an all Caucasian area. So when I was coming up in schools, I was hit with the why are you so angry and why are you so aggressive? So that's
again, a stigma on a black man. Meanwhile, you have the nicest, sweetest tone ever. Here I'm talking hard as fuck. So again, and that that's a form of control. Like when you really think about it, when you're growing up, like you said, in the suburbs, me living in the suburbs, when I moved here, I had blue hair. People were treating me like shit because I look different and I talk loud and I talk ghetto and da-da-da-da-da. And I found myself dyeing my hair, trying to fit in with these suburban fucking, Stepford wives. And I'm like, why are you trying to fit in with these people? You don't need to fit in with these people. You're a lovely person. And I had to keep telling myself that you're a lovely person. You're not hurting nobody. So when people start pointing out your character flaws, I have people telling me, well, you smoke weed. Well, I don't now. So what's your excuse? Well, you curse. Well, sorry, I'm talking about real shit. Like, and it's them. It's literally people trying to control you. How you speak, how you walk, because the masses, they love sheep. They love you to follow suit and whatever. But you got to think, when you a black man in a Caucasian neighborhood, same way like me, a Hispanic woman in a Caucasian neighborhood, they always try to find not all Caucasians, but a lot of my friends are Caucasians, they're fabulous. But I'm talking about the pretentious ones that want to control people that don't behave waspy like them. We're not wasp. Like, I'm sorry, the melanin gets us jazzed. You know what I'm saying? Like, and people have to adapt to that. Like, it's funny that you love the culture and you love the music and you love all this, but here, put you around the culture and you're trying to control the culture. Like, come on.
No, that you made me laugh because Paul Mooney said everybody want to be a nigga, but don't nobody want to be a nigga.
That part. That part.
So that you brought me back to that. That was hilarious. Okay.
Yo, it's crazy. Like, I have people break me down on any little thing, and I'm like, but you live in the life that I'm living.
Man.
Would you like me to point it out? You know what
emulating.
I'm saying? You going to the same shit. You listening to my shit. You tuning into the radio. You doing. How are you different than me? Again, waspy sheep behavior versus real shit. People aren't used to real shit and people being passionate in the way that they communicate. People are used to being indoctrinated and communicating the way they were told. I don't communicate on the way I was told. I communicate from the heart, period. Like, and people they can't deal with that type of shit. That's a different type of level of consciousness. And people haven't reached that. When you reach this level of consciousness, you see through the words. You look at the soul, the action. People don't know how to do that. They're busy looking at your outfit. What are you wearing, Will? How are you talking, Will? Bitch, shut up. Like, I'm making a point.
Yeah. No, that's let's listen. That's where we're gonna end it right there because that this is a fire conversation. It's gonna be we're gonna keep this going.
Watch, you're gonna see people in the comments hit you like, never have that ratchet bitch on again.
No, you have no idea. My first 3 interviews were someone from Bill Cosby's camp, lovely brother. Somebody from R. Kelly's camp, a good brother too. Then I talked to a brother named Flat Earth Dave. He really brought some enlightenment to the stage and everything.
I love Flat Earth Dave. Like,
he is so cool. Yeah. Yeah. So
like,
so they're gonna talk.
Like, I'm here for it. Like, don't get me started on Flat Earth. Like, I bring out the Bible and shit. Which one are we going to, sir?
Yes. That's right. So I cannot wait. We're gonna build some more. This is a great one. I'm gonna learn how to have some banners up in the future. I have this is gonna branch off into segments. I want to have a table where we come talk about current events and we all just do a roundup or something like that.
Talks, though,
no, not that.
We're not bashing Will Smith again.
No, we got something. We got groundbreaking stuff to talk about. You said something about we need to get cold with our conversation. Stuff like that, talking about conversation technologies and getting into how we express ourselves and our beliefs and how we can use our words to actually change our internal dialogues about how those internal dialogues create internal representations of how we see ourselves. And then one day, eventually, the world also sees us that way.
It
And that
manifests
is,
like
yeah,
it's
it's some
shit.
stuff that I'm having a lot of success with. A lot, I mean, like from the boardroom to just regular conversations, it's really doing me numbers, you know, in a lot of ways. But I'm gonna shut this down with that. And thank you so much, Bagels and
Thank you
Shade
for
up
having
in
me on.
here. Man, that information, you can take it to Veronica Banchs. It's the Banchs. I'm telling you. Did I say that right? Is that your last name? I seen the H in there. You know, it's
It's
Banchs.
Banchs. This is from the ex-husband. I never got rid of it because my other name is
Oh.
crazier.
Oh.
But whatever.
Wait, it's yours.
Just
Okay.
call me V for the IRS. You know what I'm saying?
Not V bucks. We don't want them taxing you now, but just V.
We don't. They're raping us. That's what they do. Let's talk about the IRS next time. The
We're gonna get
Federal
on that
Reserve, the criminals in suits. Let's talk about.
All right.
Your show gets banned.
No, they can come on the show too. The IRS can come. That's the thing. It's an open platform. So what a great conversation. What a warm conversation. One I needed. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much.
Until we meet again, my friend. Peace. Product
Bye.
Star. Will Cunningham. We out.